And that is how we start this Monday press conference edition of Big Ten Live. I'm Rick Pizzo. Welcome in as always. Tom Allen among the group of coaches that we will hear from on this Monday. Back to our semi-regular schedule, so it is an absolutely jam-packed slate. You see, Allen, of course, we'll hear from Jim Harbaugh. A lot of talk about the Michigan quarterback situation right now. How do Jeff Brohm and the Boilermakers bounce back after their season-end conference opening loss to Penn State? What a great weekend for Greg Schiano and Rutgers to win at BC. Scott Frost got a win with Nebraska, but not so sure they quieted the critics. We will hear from all of these men coming up in just a little bit. But we do begin with the Michigan Wolverines. No real issues in terms of outcome in Michigan's opener. It was all Wolverines over Colorado State, though there was a bit of controversy post-game, and it, of course, revolved around the quarterbacks. For the first time, we heard one of the QBs, Cade McNamara, voice at least a little bit of displeasure about the two-quarterback system that Jim Harbaugh is employing to start the year. Of course, McNamara got the start in week one, played, in his own words, below average. J.J. McCarthy will get the start on Saturday against Hawaii, a team that Michigan should roll. You can see that game right here on Big Ten Network. The entire schedule is in front of them, but the quarterback conversation has not stopped. That, among other topics now, as we head to Ann Arbor and listen in to Jim Harbaugh.
I thought Cade had a really solid game. I think he walks away mad at himself for missing C.J. Johnson on the crossing route, and threw the ball to C.J. a little wide on the opposite boundary. But other than that, I mean, made some terrific throws. Heck of a 2-minute drive. I think it's just the way he is. He's a perfectionist. So I thought it was a really solid game.
On the left, Isaiah.
How do you think the offensive line performed, especially considering you had a lot of pieces at different areas? And do you have any update on Carson Barnhart?
He's got a sprained ankle, and probably not going to be available this week. But he played really good, very well. Olu played really good. Keegan and Zinter graded out the highest, played the best. I mean, I would give a game ball to Trevor Keegan, the way he played, and also played in there at left tackle some too when Carson went out. So that was really, really good. Really pleased. Also the second O-line, when they went in the game, they put together a heck of a good drive. And Percy, Greg Crippen played very well. Reese Atterbury, he's gotten it out there, and he played good. Trente had some really good snaps. Overall, we felt like we were 10, 11, 12 deep in the offensive line. I thought they played good.
Back left, Michael.
Jim, when we talked to you during fall camp, you mentioned being open to playing both quarterbacks in each game into the season. You didn't want to withhold anything that would be good for the team.
Yeah.
After the game, Cade kind of said that you had suggested to the quarterbacks that you didn't want to do the alternating system, that you would prefer having one over the other. I guess which way are you kind of leaning at this point?
I mean, the same thing. We plowed this ground about as thoroughly as it can possibly be plowed. I mean, dating back to the summer when you asked the question, I said, yeah, one could start, the other could start, or could be a combination of both in the games. Those are the options. Happy that we've still got another week to look at it. As we said that each would get a start, and make it as fair as it can possibly be.
I guess, is there a reason Cade doesn't seem to think you're open to the back and forth?
Well, I think I said the same thing to you guys. I would prefer to go to have a starting quarterback going into each ball game. I mean, that's been very transparent with that, and also said, if things are exactly the same as they were coming out of camp, which was they were pretty close to dead even, then we were going to have to, as coaches, find a way to, maximize both of their talents, and for the best use of the team, and that remains a very viable option.
Right here, Larry.
Jim, your thoughts on the expanded playoff, and as someone who often advocates for student athletes, do you have any innovative ways to help them get a cut, especially if they play 17 games?
You talking about the expanding to 12
Yes.
games? Yeah, it's great. All for it. Yeah.
And, with players maybe playing 16, 17 games, and
I think you know exactly where I stand on that. Well documented. That I do believe the players should receive a revenue share, from the massive TV deals that are have been worked out, So, yeah, I mean, don't you agree? What do you think, Larry?
I think they should get a cut.
Do you have an opinion?
If they play 17 games, especially. I just don't know how or how much. Usually have those ideas.
Yeah, as I said back in the summer, I think, large piece should come from the ones who are negotiating those TV deals. The Big Ten. It's 7-point-something billion. It's a lot of billions. It's a lot of money. I think the players should receive a revenue share.
In the back, Doug.
Coach, could you talk about recruiting Roman Wilson and that whole sort of timeline to get a kid from Hawaii?
Yeah, well, it really helped that both mom and dad had Michigan ties. Both went to Michigan, Western Michigan. Mom from the UP originally, same town as Barry Pearson, I believe. I think I'm right on that. She was a track runner, so that really helped. Even though Roman was, Hawaii. I think it helped with the parents having the Midwest ties, but just a great guy all the way around. Great competitor and tough as nails. Love Roman. Great fit, Roman Wilson, Michigan.
Did you fly out?
Always thought that was a great fit.
Did you fly out?
Of course.
To recruit him?
Of course.
How many times?
I think just the one time that I was allowed to during the contact period, which was, they got it now to where head coach can only get to a guy once, pretty much. Sometimes twice. But I get the one visit during the contact period.
Chris.
First impressions of Jesse Minter and the way he called the defense on Saturday?
Really good. The headsets were clean, smooth. The operations were clean, smooth in all three phases. Thought it was really good. He's a calm, cool, collected guy, and just the whole operation, signaling, communication, it was A++ from what I saw.
On the left, Alejandro.
Jim, I think you mentioned 84 players playing on Saturday. When you have 3 games where you can potentially get that deep into the roster, how do you balance playing younger guys versus maybe holding them out for the red shirt?
Well, you can have 4 games. They can play in 4 games and still receive a red shirt. So, our philosophy has always been that they're going to be better in the 5th year than they would be in their freshman year. But if they can make it into the 2 deep and get playing time every week, we feel like they'll be better football players for having played football. You get better at football by playing football. So that's really it. If they can be in the 2 deep, we'll play them in over 4 games, and if it's going to be something equivalent to not important time in the game, then we would just play them up to 4 games. But those would be individual decisions, based on how how much they can contribute versus being that much better in the fifth year.
On the left, Reiner.
With the read option threat, how much does JJ open up the inside running game?
I think he definitely pulls defenders. I mean, they have to know where he is. I mean, our defensive coaches are the same way. I mean, there needs to be a plan when a quarterback can run in the 4.5s, and that's gets to be faster than linebackers. So you got to have a plan to contain that. So you can definitely see even if he's carrying out a fake, I mean somebody's paying attention.
And going back to 2020, I mean, Cade got hurt, I guess, obviously on a run against Penn State. I mean, how much did that kind of change your mindset as far as using him as a running option, I guess?
Yeah, we still use him as a running option. I mean, he's called a quarterback draw in the Big Ten championship game, if you recall.
On the left, Angelique.
Jim, I was wondering, JJ, do you encourage him to get out of bounds, slide a little bit more? When he takes some contact, obviously, like the Georgia game, he took some hits. And how do you temper that so he doesn't, I don't know, put his playmaking ability out of whack?
I like to see him get down, a little more. It's something to keep improving. He's got to, once he gets the first down, try to get down. But yeah, I also understand that there's a quarterback. I mean, you like to get some kind of contact, early when you're out there. I mean, it's really why I try to simulate hitting them on the pads and, in the front, the back, and pounding on the helmet a little bit, just because, it's always good. You got to get the butterflies out, just blocking somebody or getting hit or, running, and it helps to get the butterflies out. I've found everybody's a little different, but yeah, to answer your question, I'd like to see him get down a little quicker once he's got the first down.
Back left, Michael.
Jim, after the game, you mentioned playing 84 guys over the weekend. Is that a trend that you'd like to continue with the next two non-conference games, or is there a point where you taper it down to get ready for Big Ten play by giving the primary contributors more reps?
Well, you get better at football by playing football, and if we have opportunity, we're always gonna play guys as much as we can. I mean, right now we got over 100 on the roster that have played in games. I'd like to set a record there. I'd like to get to 120 or 130. Hopefully, maybe we can get everybody. Get everybody have played football. I mean, that makes the team better, makes them better. Great for the morale of the team. I mean, everybody wants to play, and so see how many we can get. Hopefully, hopefully we'll be in that position. You don't know if we'll be in that position or not, but if we ever are, we're gonna get as many guys in there as we can.
Austin.
Jim, did C.J. Stokes surprise you with how prepared he was to play right away, and what's allowed him to get out there as quickly as he has?
No, I really thought he was gonna have a big game. I mean, I told him that days leading up to the game, like, I don't know if it'd be this game or the next, but you're going to be one of those freshmen that everybody's talking about. He's just good. Super important to him. I mean, he is a studier and very, very focused player and really talented too. So it's fun to see him first run be a long 13, 14-yard pickup and a first down.
Got time for about 3-4 more. Isaiah.
Now that you've had some time to kind of look back, what did you see from Derek Moore and Mason Graham?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of good things from a lot of people. And I'll start defensively. Mike Samerstill was all over the field. I mean, he was everywhere. And pretty much what I loved was just how many winged helmets were showing up in the picture frame of every clip. Just great pursuit, great run into the football. Jalen Harrell had a phenomenal game. Four tackles, a sack. Rod Moore, interception, 4 tackles, a sack. And then also super pleased with Makari Page, he was running, hitting. I mean, just how far he's come. And I remember back in his freshman days, being a little slender and very good athlete. But now he comes up and hits, and really, really excited about that. Mike Barrett, that's another one. I'm going to take a little deep, long bow on that one because when we were recruiting him as a quarterback out of Georgia in Lowndes, and people were like, "Well, there's no position he can play. What's he going to play?" And I go, "Well, he's going to be a safety. Or he's going to be a linebacker. He's going to be one of the two." I mean, you can't see that. And, now to watch him, and he's made his mark on special teams. And in the linebacker position these days, especially as much nickel as we play and all teams play in football, I mean, he's just out there running, hitting, tackling. What do you have, 8 tackles? 6 tackles and a sack. I mean, and doing a great job on special teams. I mean, there's a real football player right there, and I'm just super, super happy and proud with him. I mean, I guess the days of the middle linebacker, kind of went the ways of the down safety and cover 3. I mean, you got to be able to run and go sideline to sideline and tackle and play. I mean, I'm just really happy with Mike. I mean, he's developed into, and he'll be very, very. He'll be playing this game for a long time. So, really, really proud of him. Other guys, I mean, talked about the offensive line. Gio El Hadi got significant snaps in the game. Great to see his development's been very good. And another guy, Iman Dennis, he'll be our special teams player of the week. He had both tackles on the 2 punts that we had in the game. Really good punting. Brad Robbins, 47 net. Jake Moody continues his streak. I think it's around 12 in a row, something like that. Great to see him get some kicks and be successful there. So, a lot of really good positives. Things we can improve on. I want to improve more on our coverage, punt coverage and kickoff coverage, and field goal protection. Was a little loose. And some other stuff. So, but yeah, so it was as I said after the game, smooth. It was a really clean type of football game.
We're going to go on our last 2 with Greg and then Larry.
Coach, it looked like the players had a sticker acknowledging the 50th anniversary of the Title IX legislation on their helmets.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you and the coaching staff wanted to emphasize this year, either with the public or with the players? Yeah, we wanted to recognize that, both internally and publicly, just that anniversary and how important it is.
When preparing your team for Hawaii, what do you tell them to, respect a team that's lost 112 to 27 in 2 games?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to get as good at football as we can, as fast as we can. I mean, you always respect your opponent. I mean, that's you take nothing for granted, and also, we need to improve. We have to improve. I mean, I saw some darn good football teams playing after our game. I was able to watch them on TV. Teams like Georgia and Ohio State and Alabama. We won Notre Dame was real good. there's a lot of good football teams out there, and playing good. So I mean, we gotta get better and better and better and better and better. That's what we'll talk about.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thanks.
Michigan should not have to be much better this week against an overmatched Hawaii team, but still that quarterback conversation remains. Harbaugh admitting Cade McNamara said he was upset with himself after missing Cornelius Johnson on the crossing route, but Harbaugh himself believed McNamara had a, quote, solid game. He also added he would prefer to have one clear-cut starter, but the situation in Ann Arbor may not play out that way. Was a good news, bad news season opener for Michigan State. Spartans, slow start against Western Michigan, then turned it on late. Trouble was some major injuries for Mel Tucker's team. Xavier Henderson left the game, did not return. Darius Snow, even worse. We learned from Mel Tucker on Monday that the starting linebacker will be done for the year. Now back to the good news on the defensive side. Jacoby Windman had himself a monster game. Another one of those transfers that is paying immediate dividends for Michigan State. Actually named the Walter Camp Defensive Player of the Week after a 7-tackle, 4-sack, forced fumble performance in that win over Western Michigan. So Michigan State may need more from Windman, expecting that Henderson and we know Snow will not play coming up this Saturday. It is Akron at home against Michigan State in a game you can see right here on Big Ten Network. And then the following week, the Spartans finishing off non-conference play against Washington before opening up Big Ten competition on September the 24th at home against Minnesota. For all things Michigan State, now we head to East Lansing. Here is the aforementioned head coach of the Spartans, Mel Tucker.
We had a special environment in the woodshed Friday night. The crowd was unbelievable. The student section was electric. The band was the best as usual. The dance team, the cheer team, Sparty, everything was at a high level. It was very impressive, and we really appreciate that. And that's the type of atmosphere that is a winning atmosphere in the woodshed. So, and we're just getting started with that, and so. I believe it's only going to get better. We want to make the woodshed, Spartan Stadium, the toughest place to play in the country, and there's no reason why we can't. There's no reason why we can't do that. Obviously, congratulate Jacoby Windman for his awards that he got. For he had an outstanding game. With his sack production and just the way he played the game, it was very high motor. Showed a lot of skill, played hard. He's a very unselfish player. You talked to him Friday night after the game, and we asked him to move to defensive end a couple of weeks ago, and may not even have been that long. And he said, "Coach, whatever I can do for the team, I'm willing to do that." And he did it. And I mean, the first practice we had at defensive end, he made the first 3 plays of the period in the run game. So and he's a really good linebacker as well. He's versatile, and he's the type of guy that you can win with. Our program is built with guys that are unselfish, hard-nosed football players that are team guys, and he's certainly that. Snow's going to be out for the year, Darius, and so we feel terribly for him. He's worked really hard and is playing at a high level, but he won't be with us for the rest of the season. X is he's sore, and so we'll just have to see how he comes along with his treatments and things like that, but he'll be ready when he's ready. I told the players, do not talk about your injuries or anyone else's, and I'll handle all the injuries with the players. That's what I told them again today. That's not the first time they've heard that. In the game, what did I see? I saw some good things in the game, in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Some bright spots. we have weapons on offense. You know, we're able to run the ball a little bit. But, you know, we have some guys that, you know, they can make some plays, you know, at every position. And, you know, we have a line that's, you know, just willing to get after, and they're very well coached. Defensively, you know, we've got some guys up front. They can, you know, they can play, and, you know, in the front seven. And secondary is learning how to play a better brand of football as we go. And special teams, also we have, you know, returners that can make plays, and we have guys that can run and hit, and we have good specialists. You know, we're just too inconsistent right now with what we're doing. And, you know, some of the things, even though there was some good things that we saw out there, I saw out there on the tape, our overall play was unacceptable. You know, so, you know, we're back at practice. We're back at practice today, this morning, just finished up a little bit ago. And we're just challenging everyone in the organization to, you know, to get uncomfortable and attack this week, and we need to get to the next level of our intensity, and we need to prepare to play 60 minutes this week. You know, not 10 or 20 or playing spurts. We just have to raise our level of intensity of what we're doing, and we have to attack everything that we're doing. You know, when we went up 21-3, you know, that's an opportunity for us to, you know, execute more, you know, play harder, play faster, hit harder, you know, less mistakes, be assignment sound, and we didn't do that. And so, no, we can't be seduced by any measure of success that we have. And so when you go up 21-3 and then you don't continue with the momentum and do some things, then, you know, that's a problem. So we're addressing that with our players, you know, and as coaches. I mean, you know, it starts with me and then the staff, and then, you know, the players. You know, we have to communicate to the players and how we get things fixed, and so that's a big part of what we talked about this morning. You know, we have we had a couple guys that cramped up in the game, which is unacceptable. Had a couple situations where we had guys with hands on their hips, you know, in the game, which makes no sense. And we have a standard of performance, you know, that's a high level, and we weren't at that level consistently in the game. We didn't play complementary football consistently in the game, and so the standard is the standard. We can't accept that, and so it's all about what we do now, what we do next to get the outcome that we want. It's all about the preparation. So right now we have one game focus. You know, Akron come in here, I believe it was 4 o'clock on Saturday, and so, you know, we don't have time to waste. We have to get down to business. We did that this morning. We have to have laser focus, intentional focus on what we're doing, so that we can have a better performance and be more consistent in all three phases. We can play complementary football up to the standard that's expected here. So with that, I'll open it up if anyone has anything.
Mel, I wondered, kind of two parts here with Darius's injury, I guess. What did you see from the linebackers without him? What did he bring in the time that he was there? And as kind of a second part to that, do you feel, because it seems like around college football there were some other dings and bruises, do you feel like, or I guess what's your opinion on the amount of tackling you guys can do in camp, and do you think that has an effect on some of those things going on right now?
It didn't have any effect on that particular play, I don't think. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, we all talk about it as coaches, and, you know, the NFL scouts talk about it when they come in here about, you know, because we go through camp and we have injuries, you know, and I even talked to NFL guys about like their preseason approach, and they're saying they're getting to the point where they don't even want to hit in practice because they don't want to get guys hurt, so they can't play in the game. But then when they get in the game, they haven't been hitting as much, and then they're telling me the injuries are way up, early in the season. So we hit as much as we can, and like when we have the shoulder pads on, we go at a tempo that's called thud, where we'll hit the guys, we'll strike each other and deliver blows, above the waist, high and hard, and through the whistle, and then with the emphasis of, getting yourself in a football position where you can strike a guy and club him up and wrap him up, and then let him run, and then the rest of the guys just tag off, so we can get the leverage on the runners. With the emphasis being, not being on the ground, and that's really important. So like in camp, like half of the injuries that we had, camp were a result of guys being on the ground when they weren't supposed to be on the ground. Being out of control, not having contact balance, being on the ground, someone tripping over a guy, or a guy falling on his shoulder, getting an AC deal or something like that. So, that's all technique and balance and body control. So, I don't think that what we're seeing in particular from our team right now, any injuries as a result of not having enough contact. We even get to the point sometimes where we feel like we have to pull back from some of the contact because we're trying to get our guys to the game, and we want them fresh and ready for the game. What I see out of the linebackers, so like I said before the season started, we have more depth at the linebacker position than we had a year ago, and so. As you remember, Wimon was playing linebacker just a couple of weeks ago. So we had Wimon, and Cal, and Brule, Van Sumeren, and Snow, and Ma, guys that were, in there, taking reps and things like that. So, we still have, good players at that position, and they're all going to have to play for us, and they're all going to have to play winning football for us to be able to get the job done. But what Snow brought to the table was, first of all, he's a good player. He's really smart, and he gave tremendous effort in practice. He was one of the guys that we would point to on a routine basis, like every day, giving maximum effort to the ball. We actually stopped giving extra effort plays, like extra effort production to guys. Points, you on a play, you grade every play and you give production for the day. We used to give extra effort points for guys, and we stopped doing that, because guys like Snow, that's how they were playing every play, and we said that's the standard. Why are we giving extra effort points for? That's how it should be all the time. So we just eliminated that, and he was one of the reasons why, and so he did that. He's got versatility, as you know. He played defensive back a year ago. And so, he has an understanding of the coverages. He's comfortable in space. And from the day we moved him to linebacker, he showed that he's willing to come downhill and strike offensive linemen as they come off the ball and violent shed and finish on the ball. So, he's a very versatile guy that can do a lot of things for us. So, it's next man up, at the linebacker position and in the secondary.
Mel, going off that a little bit, sort of similar question, I guess, at safety. Who are those guys? What did you think when you were able to watch the film of Kendall getting in there and Jaden getting in there once X went down? And just what does that look like and having to get those guys prepared?
Yep. Well, again, like we talk about how we're going to play the players before the game, and so we knew that, KB would be, next man up, Mangum would be next man up. And so when they got in there, they did some solid things. KB, forced a fumble, and Mangum, that was his first, action out there on defense as a true freshman, and it didn't seem like it was too big for him. And he's done a good job in camp, and Justin White is a guy that we've had, as like an emergency safety. for us because he can do a lot of different things. He's really, really fast and he's tough, and so he'll probably get more reps moving forward, like at the position, like in practice, not just being aware of it and being an emergency guy, but actually going in there and practicing, taking reps, at both the safety spots. So, it's like I said, it's next man up for us. Like I said during camp, and we have to coach every player to be ready to play winning football for us, because you can get real thin real quick, even in college ball when you got 85 guys on scholarship and all the walk-ons, and it gets thin quickly if the guys behind the guys, aren't ready to go, if they don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it, because those are the people that the opponent finds those guys on the field. They poke around and find your weaknesses and exploit those. So again, you can only be as strong as your weakest link. So we can't have any weak links, and our standard for performance has to be at a high level everywhere, because the lowest form of productivity or performance that you accept becomes your culture, as an organization. So from top to bottom, we have to get better and make sure guys are ready to go. So that's what we're here to do, is coach them up and get them ready to go out there and play.
Now, two things. First, when you say cramps are unacceptable, is it each player's
what's not acceptable?
Cramps are not acceptable. Is it each player's responsibility to stay hydrated? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's my responsibility, to make sure the guys are properly hydrated. Yep. And so we have to put together a plan to make sure the guys, follow the plan and that we're on top of it. We shouldn't have guys cramping in East Lansing, in September. I can't think of a good reason for that.
The other thing is there's a natural energy to the opener. Everyone's amped up. They're excited. Do you have to concoct any of that for game two, because it's not the same environment?
Concoct some energy for
Yeah. Because it's not the opener. There's natural excitement for the opener. Game two is a little different, or is it?
I mean, we're I'm motivated. I believe we're super motivated to. We have a lot to prove. In terms of how we play on the field. So, and I heard talk about, for the Western game, there wasn't going to be a lot of people at the game. It's a holiday weekend. It's Western, and I didn't see that type of environment, So I would think that our fans and our students would show up and be ready to go for us, for the school, and I can't imagine that we wouldn't need any type of manufactured hype or whatever to get ready to play a football game, especially after what we did out there on Friday night. I can't imagine why there would be any type of. We'll just have to see. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Mel, as far as the linebackers are going, we saw a lot more of Ben Sumarin on Friday than we had before. And he just looked like he was a step faster. I was wondering what you've seen in his progress from when you got him last year to now.
Ben Sumarin? Yeah, so Ben he's just fast. I mean, he can flat out run. Like he's you talking about like a linebacker that can run sideline to sideline and do that. I mean, that's who he is. So that's part of his game. That's part of his skill set, is his speed and explosiveness that way. And he had a really good spring. Like he improved this spring, and he kind of built on that, and he got better and better as the spring went and became more consistent in his performance. And then when we started camp, he was doing okay, and then he started to play well again, and then kept that going throughout the camp, and so he just carried that into the game. So what we saw in the game on Friday, night was what we have been seeing in practice on a consistent basis from him. You know, that's the type of player that he is right now, and you know, we believe that he can, you know, that he's going to continue to get better. You know, because you know his mindset is like he's always working really hard. He was kind of like Snow in that regard. Like he doesn't loaf. Like he's always full speed in everything that he does, and he's dead serious about his performance. You know, so you know guys like that get better. He cares. You know, he's got a chip on his shoulder. And I have a lot of respect for him, just the way he competed to create an opportunity for himself to be on the field, to be able to prove that he can make plays, and he did that. And that's what we all need to do. You know, we all need to prepare and prove it, and then when we get the opportunity, then take advantage of it, and then not be seduced by success. And use that as like motivation to want to do more, not less. You know, so you know, certainly he's earned everything he's gotten to this point, and I don't anticipate him slowing down at all.
Mel, last year clearly Kenneth Walker was the focal point of this offense. And a lot of the talk about this offseason was sort of replacing that. However, that may happen. Peyton Thorne would be a likely guy sort of stepping up, even though he was obviously key last year. He wasn't too pleased with his performance on Friday. There were obviously some good things, maybe some things he could have done differently. I wonder, now that you've watched the film, what you thought of him, as well as both the running backs who are all sort of in tandem replacing that production.
Yeah, I thought Peyton did some good things in the game, and it doesn't surprise me when he comes up here, you know, right after the game and says he was disappointed in his performance, because he's a perfectionist, and I mean he's always, I mean that's just how he is. You know, it's never good enough, and so if he misses a throw, you know, he's you know, he holds himself accountable for that, and you know, if he tries to do too much, you know, same thing, you know, so. You know, I like some of the things that he did, but I mean, obviously, he's got some room to improve, just like everyone else, you know, out there, and he's going to do that. I mean, I don't think there's anyone that's more determined than him, you know, about playing, you know, great winning football. You just got to, you know, we just have to play at a higher level. Our level of execution is not consistent. And I don't like that. We know none of us like that, because it's all about consistency and performance. You know, we look really, really, really good, and then sometimes we look really, really, really bad. You know, and so you know, that's what we need to do. But I'm glad Peyton's our quarterback. I know that much, because I know what he's made of. I know how he's going to compete. I know how he's going to approach this week. You know, he motivates me how bad he wants to get better. You know. Yeah. So I think you can kind of get a little bit of a picture of like what our plan, you know, was going into the game, was to, you know, use both backs and, you know, and run the ball some, you know, and, you know, have our play action and take our shots and things like that. And when you look at Berger, and Jay Brew, I think you can see that both of those guys are capable of, you know, carrying the football for us and being productive, as long as we have, you know, good offensive line play and the tight ends block and the receivers block, and you know, Peyton gets us in and out of the right plays, and those guys take care of the football, you know, and we can get production at the running back spot, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah.
Mel, I know you've often said when you guys are looking through the portal for players, it's not just the on-field, but you are trying to evaluate like cultural locker room fits as well. With Jacoby, were you able to sense that sort of selflessness with him when you're trying to recruit him out of the portal and everything? Just, you know, on paper, it would seem like he was a guy who's a senior. He's already made that transition to linebacker. He was an all-conference guy. Like, in maybe someone in like his mind, like, this is sort of my shot to make it. Now you guys are asking him to do something different. Obviously, it works out. But moral of the story, did you detect that sort of selflessness when you were recruiting him at that stage?
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that he was just hungry with a chip on his shoulder, and he wanted an opportunity to do something, and so, and we wanted him here, because of his skill set and the type of guy that he is. I mean, he's a mature guy. I mean, he walked in the door preaching neutral thinking, in our workouts. I kept hearing him saying neutral thinking, and then he had just gotten here, so like, where did he get that from? The guy, he studies, he pays attention, he knew what he was getting himself into, and like sometimes like you have to trust the process, and we talk to our guys about that. Not, trusting the process and attacking the process. It doesn't do us any good, okay, to recruit him, to bring him here, when we know that he wants to come here because he wants to better himself as a football player, and he wants to win at a high level. It doesn't do us any good to put him in a situation where he can't be successful. That doesn't help us. That doesn't help him. That doesn't help our recruiting moving forward. It doesn't make any sense to do anything like that. So, like I said, when we sit him down and have a conversation and say, hey, here's the situation. Here's what we're thinking, and this is why. Okay, and here's how this benefits us, and here's how this can benefit you, and then we're relying on our experience, coaching players, and developing players and helping guys get to the NFL and things like that, and saying, hey, listen, here's what I see, here's what we see, here's what you can do for us. Here's the productions you're going to have that you potentially could have doing this like this. You can always play linebacker, and we'll still give you reps there. But here's how you can impact this team, and here's how you can impact the game. And everyone's looking for pass rushers, and it's hard to find rushers. And you can see, the key to playing great defense is stopping the run and making the quarterback play poorly. If you can stop the run and affect the quarterback or rushing coverage, then you got a chance to play good defense. And if you can get pressure with 4 guys and not have to bring additional guys, and leave guys hanging in the back end, things like that, or then you can pressure on your terms, and not feel like you just have to pressure to get to affect the quarterback. So you can mix coverages, you can do different things, and you can see where he can do it. He's not the only one that we have. I mean, we have Brule out there. Brule's one of our best rushers. You put him on the edge, and he's making plays. I mean, we got to put guys in position where we can say, hey, listen, trust the process. We won't put you in this position if we didn't think that it was going to be a good thing. And yeah, I mean, hey, we're dead serious about winning football games here at Michigan State and doing what we got to do for the green and white. But at the same time, and that comes first. That's above any coach, any player. Michigan State, what's best for the team, okay? But like beyond that, we're trying to make sure we want to help our guys get to whatever level of football they want to play. And so, hey, if you can play stack linebacker, you can be a 3-4 outside linebacker. There's a third of the teams in the NFL that are playing 3-4. They're looking for outside linebackers, guys that can set the edge in the run game, and guys that can rush. They're looking for big linebackers that that can come downhill and strike offensive linemen and guards, and so you do all that, and everybody's looking for guys that can rush, and not just third down, first, second, and third down. You're not just third down rushers, and so you're the complete package. You're not going to be a jack of all trade and master of none. We're going to make sure that you can proficient at rushing, and when you do play stack linebacker, then you can be a good stack linebacker. So when the scouts look at you, they're going to say, hey man, this guy's one of the best rushers that we've seen. Hopefully that's what they'll say, and the guy can set the edge in the run game. He plays hard. We've seen him play stack linebacker. He does that. He can play special teams, and he's a team guy, and he works his butt off, and he's just an unselfish guy, and he's a rugged guy, and he's hungry. So that's a good brand to have, moving forward, because who's now looking for players like that, and because he's what you call and a player. He's this, and he's a great teammate, and he's unselfish, and he's a leader, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, So I think he trusts what we're doing, and he'll continue to do that, and all the players need to do that.
Winmon has already turned that potential into productivity. Now, Tucker will need more players to do so with the injuries to Henderson and the season-ending injury to Darius Snow. We can't just allow ourselves to leave anything on the table. We have unrealized potential. We need to get out and get productive immediately, said Tucker. Braylon Allen did some amazing things as a 17-year-old freshman, but he did something on Saturday night that no other Wisconsin running back has ever done. Gone to the house from more than 95 yards out, a school record 96-yard touchdown run, part of a 148-yard, 2-touchdown evening for Allen. And the man whose record he broke, the recently retired James White, took to Twitter to tell Allen, "Good stuff, little bro." White says it was fun while it lasted, but as we point out, White does still have those 3 Big Ten titles and 3 Super Bowl rings. There was more good news for Wisconsin in that win over Illinois State. Another shutout for the Badgers, most in the country along with Alabama since Paul Chryst took over in Madison. And oh, by the way, Graham Mertz was remarkably efficient. All great signs for Wisconsin as they look ahead toward challenging for the Big Ten West in 2022. They'll have 2 more non-conference games before they worry about that Big Ten opener against Ohio State this Saturday against Washington State and next weekend on Big Ten Network against New Mexico State. To look back on the Week 1 win and look ahead to Week 2, here is Badger headman Paul Chryst.
Well, it feels like we're just in here, but it's what is new is this week and get an opportunity to get ready for Washington State. And, you talk to the group today and I think every week you got to find ways that you can improve. And certainly, from week 1 to week 2, there's a lot that we can improve upon. And yet, like I told you afterwards, I liked a lot of what we did. I thought the effort and the way they went about things was good. And you look at the film and each individual, each group, us as a team, there's areas where we can need to get better and can get better. And doing it against a good opponent. So need to have a good week of preparation and looking forward to that.
If you can flag one down, Jeff.
Paul, I know Jim played a lot of safeties in week 1, I think at least 6, but a couple guys that we haven't seen, Latu, what did you see from him? And also Toller in his first action in a couple of years. What did you see from those guys when you review how they played?
Yeah, I mean, it was they kind of showed up. Titus had a nice fit on the one run, and Moy showed up a number of times, and also in the run game and in the pass game made a good play. And heck, you saw him on special teams. Oh, Preston Zachman, hadn't played. It was good, and so it was. Certainly with Torch, even Torch, it's a new role for him. And he was the guy that last year came in and certainly made an impact, but they've all kind of got a new role, and but I think like the way it started, and certainly, like you kind of said with the whole group, there's areas we got to keep growing.
Paul, you mentioned that you liked the pass protection on Saturday. How would you assess how Jack Nelson played his first game at left tackle?
Yeah, I thought that certainly. It's going to be like every guy. I mean, there's some good, and it's a different feel. And certainly he's had, spring ball and fall camp, but it's you continually going to improve with play. I think same thing. I thought Beecher, moving inside, did some good stuff, and yet we all got to keep going. But I thought. Nelly was good on a number of plays, and there's some things that he can certainly work on this week.
Paul, Jim, you guys held out a couple of your corners, Alexander Smith and Clark, who had been banged up.
Right.
They're not on the status report this week. Will you have to see how they perform in practice to make sure they're sound, or have you seen them practice already?
I think we'll be able to find out more this week, particularly with Justin, and kind of where he's at. It's been going well for him, and yet, getting a good tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday practice out of him then I think we're optimistic certainly, but we're going to need those practice days.
Paul, with Hayden Rucci having his first couple of collegiate receptions in his fourth year, just how have you seen him evolve as a player, but also as a potential pass catcher within this offense?
Yeah, I think that credit to him, for the work he's put in, and I think that he's like a lot of our guys, that they need to be, those situations he was in, and I thought Graham made a good decision on it, and they've got to be able to deliver, in the passing game as much as in the run game, and I think that whole tight end group is one that we feel good about. They just got to continue to play, and gain that experience. And I know they've been in game situations, but they just got to continue their roles a little bit different now, and they got to keep growing.
Paul, I just wanted to get your thoughts on your inside linebackers, Muma and Jordan, and what did they show you? What stood out about them last week?
Yeah, I thought they you felt them, and they showed up. I thought they number of plays where they believed what they saw and triggered on it, and I thought made some really impactful plays, and that was good to see. That they're trusting themselves and trusting what they're seeing, and I thought they played fast, and so that was a good first game for both of them.
Paul, kind of a two-parter for you on backup quarterback situation. With Miles, do you try to get him a few more extra reps during the week compared to what you would give Chase, who's been around this program for a while?
Ideally, you'd like to, we're talking about because Miles, and you still want to get Deacon some, but you still got to start, I think, with Graham, and making sure that he's got the right amount of reps and the looks that he needs to see, and so I think that maybe a couple more, and yet like Chase was so good at when we were doing anything where we go like our second offense versus our one defense. Chase found a way to really make those good reps for him, and I think that the young guys are learning to do that. So you felt like Chase was ahead a little bit when he's going into game week preparation, but I think you still got to make sure that you kind of start from the top down. You got to make sure that we're getting what we need from Graham, and then certainly you got to get then the other guys the reps.
So my follow-up would be how important is it for them to do work away from the practice field, like in the meeting room? Like
big.
How do you get a guy ready
that
that way?
Well, I mean, they've been going. I think it's just trying to reinforce what they know and go through it, and that's where it's been nice. School doesn't start quite yet, and that's been helpful with the time, the extra time that you can have, and credit to Chase. Chase is taking them. When we're busy, he's grabbing them, and then there's some parts where you just got to do it on your own, but you got to make sure that they're studying it and learning it the right way, and so. Absolutely, time away, and like I said, school doesn't start for a couple days, and there is time for them to do that.
Just with Wohler, any timetable, any estimate on just how long he might be out for?
Yeah, don't know for sure, but I think it'll be a bit of time, and hate to see that, and actually did it, I think, a play before, but it'll be a bit.
I have another question for you about Miles. It's not very often that a true freshman quarterback plays, especially this early in the season. Obviously, there's circumstances because of that. But what is it about Miles' skill set that stands out to you? What is it that you like about his ability?
Yeah, I think I've liked the way that he's kind of come in and came early and I think he's always trying to learn. And even when. There's times when I know he's not getting the reps, but I know he's working at it, and you see it even on the side sometimes in practice. Kind of going through it, and certainly all those guys who feel like they've got a skill set, a talent with them. But I've liked the way that he's approached it, and he's got kind of his demeanor's been good too. I think he's got kind of had the right balance there, and I think he's certainly got some urgency to him. But also level-headed enough where it doesn't get too big.
Coach, Nakia Watson had a solid performance last weekend for Washington State. With him coming back here this weekend, what kind of threat does he present, and what type of player was he when he was here at Wisconsin?
Yeah, I mean, I like Nakia and appreciate when he was here and being around him, and you know, the threat that he poses is he's part of a good offense that our defense has to stop. You know, and it's not about Nakia. You know, and he's got teammates here that know him well and certainly appreciate him. Guys, we all liked having him on this team, but you know, it's Wisconsin versus Washington State, and he's their back, and so I think it's the whole unit that we got to defend, not just get caught up in one person.
Paul, I know this was a couple of months ago, but you and the running back group were able to go to Gary Brown's celebration of life back in June. Just what was that experience like, having that whole group together and being able to do that?
Yeah, it was certainly a powerful day. I was glad to be able to share. You know, I think we're all glad to be with each other, and kind of the whole process hit us all differently, probably, but significantly, and even the celebration of life was, well after. It wasn't that weekend. It wasn't, shortly after. And it was something that I think we all felt fortunate to be able to do. But when we say that, we know that none of us wanted to be there. But it was a good, tough day.
Paul, I know Ches didn't get a lot of carries Saturday night, but I'm just curious if you saw, whether it was him being decisive, confident in the knee, did you see the same runner on Saturday that you saw in camp as he was progressing from that injury?
Yeah, I thought, heck, even, and we talked about that a little bit, just we didn't have a ton of plays. It was a different rhythm to that game. But I don't think I'm imagining this. I thought he ran really well and hard and did see that in camp. So it wasn't, what he did the other day, it wasn't, geez, he's been holding back, or it's been consistent. I've loved the way that he's approached really from the first day of camp, and certainly the summer, and it was hard for him in the spring not being able to go, but I thought that he just continues to work, and I thought he ran really well. I thought at times I think a back can get to where you try to create. So I thought I thought he had a decent balance of that patience, but then I thought he ran behind his pads, and it was fun to see. He had some good, tough yards and yards after contact. It was good, and I mean, you look at it, and I don't think any of the backs really got a ton of carries. We didn't have a ton of plays.
Paul, is there any difference preparing for Washington State, a Power 5 team, as opposed to Illinois State, an FCS team?
Not what you're saying as far as where they're from. I mean, the common part is that you're preparing for a game, and I think there's steps that you've got to take, and I think that we all, these game opportunities are limited, and we've always believed that you've got to, how do you maximize it, and what can't change is your respect for the game and your respect for the opponent and the respect for the work that has to be done to get yourself ready to play. And so in that regard, I don't care who you're playing. You think about it, you gotta try to focus on the things that you can impact or you can control. And we can control our preparation. What's different is, it's a different style of offense, it's a different defense. Each week there's going to be differences. And then each week there's got to be some of the same common themes, and we're preparing for an opportunity, and we're talking about it right now, and we'll talk about it every game. The games aren't guaranteed for players. We got a schedule, but you want to be able to make the most of the opportunities you get, and we got one coming up this Saturday against a really good team. And how do you maximize that? It's in your preparation. And you're preparing, heck, we're focusing in this weekend, but you're preparing all year for these game opportunities. And we've got guys, that didn't get to play in the first game. We spend every Monday, we're talking about who's going to go, who's not going to go. When you get a chance to go and you get a chance to play this game, there's nothing better. And so the way you prepare it's the most important thing going.
And Wisconsin's next chance to play 3:30 on Fox against Washington State. As for one of the Badgers' West Division competitors, Purdue, not the start that Jeff Brohm and company were in search of, scored 31 but wasn't enough in the opener last Thursday against Penn State. Level of competition a little bit easier to deal with this coming weekend as the Boilers take on Indiana State in a game you can see right here on Big Ten Network. More from Purdue headman Jeff Brohm as we take you to West Lafayette.
Well, we're definitely looking forward for our next home game. There's a lot of things we need to work on that you learn from your first game, especially when it doesn't go the way you want and you lose the football game. So that's what the majority of our time has been spent on the last 3 days is making sure that we get a lot of mistakes corrected, get a little bit better at the small things, really work on our fundamentals and techniques of everything we're doing, reevaluate all the decisions we made and what we could have done to get better, and that's the key, is coming out and getting better. And we're going to play an Indiana State team coming off a victory at home that we've got to start to do all the small things correctly, play as hard as we can on every play, and try to come out with a victory.
Yeah, Coach, obviously you get a chance to look at the film, see some of those mishaps, things that you talked about in terms of fundamentals like penalties, missed tackles. I guess what are some of the key focuses this week in practice and kind of honing in on those things and making sure that they get cleaned up here for week 2?
Well, and that's what we've done. Anytime we had a really good year last year as far as not having a lot of penalties, winning the turnover battle. We had some really just silly penalties that cost us. It wasn't anything outlandish, but 2 illegal alignments on offense, just receivers not getting lined up on the ball, which were silly. They can't happen. The chop block was costly. Where really our running back made a good block, there was a twist happening. Our old lineman happened to just touch the other guy, so we're just going to have to eliminate running backs cutting at all because it kind of just fell into it, and it was a costly penalty. And then I think we had a delayed game. And then really other than that, we had a lot of penalties on defense, which can't happen. Way too many penalties on defense, way too many holding calls in the secondary got called on us in key situations. So we've got to clean up the ability to play physical, but yet use our hands properly and make sure that we're obeying the rules. So those were some costly penalties. We had a silly offsides from a secondary player that I know he wasn't trying to do that, but he was offsides. That was costly. So really just some costly penalties that when you play a good football team can't have happen. So we've just got to concentrate, identify what those penalties are, which I think we have, and try to get those fixed.
Is there an update on Brock Thompson? You said he was nicked up a little bit after Penn State. Is there any concern for him heading into this week?
Well, Brock was nicked up, and we'll keep evaluating him this week. I'm hopeful that he'll be ready to play, but we'll know later in the week.
And then in terms of just the wide receiver group as a whole, you go into the season obviously stressing that there's a lot of guys that can contribute to this offense, but maybe haven't been able to do it specifically in this system due to maybe a lack of experience. Charlie Jones was a guy to step up, obviously, but after watching some film, were there any other guys that kind of caught your eye in terms of maybe solidifying themselves as maybe a number 2 option for Aiden in this offense?
Well, I think that's still a work in progress. A lot of our receivers have been banged up in the offseason up until now. You'd like to, get a few guys to step up and be that second guy for the most part. Charlie really played well. That was a really good game for him. We've got to find ways to get Tyrone Tracy the ball a little bit more in many different ways. So that's something we could have done better. Rashawn Rice, who hadn't practiced a whole lot, was able to do a couple of good things. We've got to try to get as much out of him as we can, and he's got to continue to get better. T.J. Sheffield did some good things, and then he had a couple things that we'd obviously like to do better, so we just got to get consistency. And then there's some other receivers right there on the cusp that got a little bit of action, but maybe just didn't get the ball. So we've got to be able to spread the ball around to more guys and utilize those on offense.
Jeff, just on the vein of receivers, 19 targets for Charlie that seems like a lot. I mean, just speak to his workload and how you see that moving forward. Was that too many targets, and how do you see that, I guess, moving forward?
Well, I think we always want to spread the ball around as much as we can. At the same time, if the receiver's hot and there's a connection, we're not going to take that away. And there were quite a few plays made between Aiden and Charlie. But, yeah, we'd like to have a little more balance across the board in a perfect world. But David Bell had a lot of targets in certain games as well. So, continuing to work on our quarterback having confidence in the entire receiving core is important. And, making sure that we continue to improve upon that.
And also just, tackling, Jeff. I know there's always the fear of getting guys hurt. And there were some issues with that Thursday night. How do you go about improving the tackling while still being able to manage the health of the team moving forward?
Well, we've looked and analyzed everything on defense, and there were some key moments where the tackling could have been better. I don't think it was a problem throughout the entire game on a lot of plays, but there were key plays, about 5, that we could have tackled way better. And we've addressed that. We've worked on it even this weekend. We'll continue to work on it, the ability for everybody to tackle the proper way. We've had multiple drills on it, using our arms. I thought we tried to shoulder tackle. I thought we didn't finish as much as we can to make sure someone got to the ground. And really, defensively, the 2-minute drive at the end of the half was costly when they only had about 25 seconds on the minus 18-yard line. That can't happen. We've got to, there was a scramble play on a busted coverage where the receiver turned up the field, got behind us, and then we weren't able to tackle him to the ground. That can't happen. Just can't happen at this level of football against good opponents. And really did some decent things better in the second half. And then once again, the 2-minute drive, we gave up some easy completions. We missed a tackle. We didn't guard the running back out of the backfield on a blitz. Just a lot of small things that can't happen on a 2-minute drive that is disappointing because they had some good moments on defense, but there were some key plays that were not good, so we've got to get that fixed.
Can you talk about, too, the use of, I saw several times, 6 offensive linemen at once, and then I think on one of King's TD runs, you actually had Marcus Bowe in the backfield in motion as a lead blocker. Just talk about the evolution of and use of the line moving forward and of course, Marcus's skill set.
Well, like always, there's always plenty of improvement to make on offense and making sure that, we're gaining yards and scoring touchdowns. So, losing Garrett Miller was a concern, and we've just got to continue to improve the other tight ends. But in the meantime, putting a bigger blocker in at tight end in situations was beneficial, and we've got to continue to utilize that. Short yardage, there was a couple things we got better at, red zone scoring, short yardage situations. So that was good to see. We just weren't able to finish the game on offense and take advantage of that. But yeah, on short yardage on the goal line, we had not only an extra tight end in, but also, an extra tackle in. I probably rephrased that wrong earlier too, but an extra tackle in. And then we put an extra tackle in at fullback and Marcus Bowe and used him as a lead blocker and was able to walk in the end zone. So those are the things that we're going to have to be good at as far as coaches, of making sure that there is an element and a package of the ability to get bigger bodies in to knock people off the ball and run the football.
What's your feeling on playing FCS opponents, Jeff? This will be Purdue's first since 2016.
Well, I don't think we've done it since I've been here, but we play the teams that are on a schedule, and you got to respect all your opponents. They all play good football. You saw this weekend there were a lot of FCS opponents that were really close to winning the football game against really good teams. It wasn't against, not very good teams. These were against good teams. So there's a lot of good football played out there. We respect our opponent. We respect all levels of football. If we don't improve and find ways to get better, then we're not going to win. That's just how football works at every level. And, we've got to, really work hard this week to improve and get better.
I asked Charlie after the game just about punt returning, and he says it's his call on if he wants to return a punt or not. I think he was only credited with one. And he fair caught, I don't want to say maybe 4 or 5. I mean, is that something you discuss with him? Does he have the green light? Is it at his discretion if he wants to run a punt back or not?
Well, I tell you what, I think Charlie actually got winded and tired. As he looked back, no, he has free reign to return any punt that he wants. He probably fair caught the ball more than we thought he would. So I don't know if that's because he was tired. I don't know if he felt some pressure coming at him. There were things on the return unit that we need to block better, and we need to find ways to eliminate that first man and second man down that gets in his way. So working hard with our corners on the gunners, something we worked hard on, but we're not good in the game, and they got down there too fast. So figuring out ways to either do that better or use a different technique, sneak somebody out to double the gunner later to allow the first guy to be blocked. We've talked about even multiple returners to set up that first and second block, because that's really the key. I think if we can give him just initial space, he can make good runs, and we were not able to do that effectively. And they did have a good punter. He punted it well. He punted it high. Punted it long, so that probably affected it also.
Jeff, every team's different, but how do you go about the process of getting this team to finish?
Well, it's something that every team works on. We work on it. We, as you saw, I thought we could have overall, and we've talked about it, played even harder at times and finished plays all across the board, offense and defense and special teams. And I didn't think we finished 100% to the play on every single play, and that has to happen because you're going to get beat and you're going to have lapses where you have missed tackles or you let up on offense and you don't finish drives. So those are things you work on. We want to finish the game on offense. We weren't able to do that. We got the ball with 6:27 on the -31. And, we're always going to be aggressive. So at the time, we're up 3. They have 3 timeouts. We're trying to win the game. We were able to get a 14-play drive going. 2 of them were penalties, so maybe 12 plays where we got 2 first downs, which was great. Then we got another first down that got us in field goal range that got called back with the chop block, and then that set you at 2nd and 25. So that kind of stopped that, but we were able to run, move the ball, and then we got it back with 4:28 on the -23, and got a first down. And then on 2nd down, that's when we got to scramble through it to Payne that the call was overturned, which obviously if we catch it, we're in field goal range and the game's probably over. We had Payne wide open, but we had pressure in Aiden's face. Loved to set in there and thrown it because they busted the coverage. It probably would have been a touchdown, but we didn't. And then you get to 3rd and 6, and we have a corner out that's about as open as we got it the whole game that we got to complete. So we weren't able to finish being aggressive, and that's you're not going to win the game. And then they drove all the way down the field and scored. So you look back and you say, what can we do different? And there's probably numerous things when it doesn't go well that we can do different. So we're going to continue to evaluate that and make sure, as you saw this weekend, there's a lot of games, a lot of stuff happens in the last 5 minutes, and we want to be smart, be yet aggressive, and in the end, just whatever it takes to win the football game.
And so it's Indiana State this weekend for Purdue. As for another team in the West, continuing that divisional theme, Minnesota started off with an easy, dominant 38-0 win over New Mexico State. Now this weekend, part of a busy Saturday here on Big Ten Network, the Gophers will take on Western Illinois. In advance of that one, here is head coach P.J. Fleck.
Great to see everybody. Real quick, just wanted to announce that this is our mental health awareness game. Pretty much been doing this for about 10 years now as a head football coach. I think it's really important that we bring awareness to, I think, what's one of the biggest growing concerns in our world, especially with young student athletes. And if you look what happened this past weekend, I can't imagine some of what those young people are dealing with, socially. And it's pretty sad, to be honest with you. But, we want to bring awareness to it. I think we've done a really good job, Dr. Carly Anderson, her entire staff with our student athletes do a tremendous job. I've been a huge advocate for it for a lot of years, even back in the Western Michigan days. We have a strength coach, we have a running back coach, you got a linebacker coach, you got a nutrition coach, you got tutors, you got learning specialists to help you academically, but the brain coach. And the number one thing we have in our bodies is our brain. And, I think our staff does an amazing job of keeping that open door policy, not only just with staff, but bringing awareness and having Dr. Carly come in and talk to them. And then they have the freedom to be able to use her staff anytime, any place, anywhere. I think that's really important as we move forward because the challenges of being a young person are only getting stronger and bigger. And we need to be able to help them do it. And we're teaming up with Rachel Barbeau, who's a speaker and an author now, and she's been around our program now for a very long time, probably 6-7 years. So, she's really done a great job with our student athletes and kept that relationship with them over the years that we've not only done it here but at Western Michigan. So, just want to make sure that if anybody is struggling out there, make sure you look for help. It's okay not to be okay. So make sure you look out there and talk to some people. And, one thing I'll say, we meet every Monday, and with everybody who comes in contact with our student athletes that are not coaches. It's a non-football, non-player, non-coach, anything to do with football meeting. It's about body language. It's about, did somebody say something to somebody? Is somebody looking differently? Did a girlfriend break up with them? Did he get an F on a test? Is he just acting a little bit different? And that way we can all put our arms around him if there is something and look for signs constantly. And that is specific Monday mornings every week just for that, let alone all the mental health things we do. And it's not only mental health, it's emotional help and support as well. So just want to make sure everybody knows that. And if you're out there struggling, you're not alone. I think we all need that time and all need that space and all need those people to talk to, including myself. So I'm not afraid to say that. And, we can all be better. So just want to make sure everybody knows that. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
PJ, Mo talked about that after the game with BTN, about talking to a team psychologist and how that was helpful for him. How would you explain kind of the reach that has within the program from players that do it one time to more regular, or how would you describe it?
Yeah, I think what we can do is, you never want to just force somebody to do anything they don't want to do, right? But you're constantly putting those people in front of them. You're constantly sharing stories that had to do with your life, that helped you through it. Our coaches do the same thing. Players do it as well, other players. But constantly letting them know that it's okay not to be okay. But you know that. The minute your star player has an injury and gets hurt. I've had 5 shoulder surgeries. My career ended because of injuries. Our coaches can say the same thing. We've lost people in our lives. When a student athlete loses somebody close to them, what they're going to go through and what they're going to feel. We've all been in a position where maybe we didn't perform as well as we needed to perform. We've been there. We've done that. And we know what we've had to do to overcome that and what we wish we had. So it's that culture of openness and connectivity. And being very genuine, real, and open with them of what the resources are for them to be okay. And it's okay not to be. And we're here to help them through it. But you know what it looks like with body language, because 70% of our communication is nonverbal. And I'm not saying you can look at it all the time. That's why it's 70%, not 100%. But you also know what they're going through. A lot of you aren't, you don't know what we do during the week with these types of meetings, and our academic meetings are basically our health meeting on Monday, that we're truly constantly talking about every one of our student athletes as non-football players and finding out what's going on in their life. Are they doing okay? Hey, this happened to somebody, so we know that they're going to respond this way. So we all need to put our arms around that person, and we all need to put all hands on deck and all resources forward. So I know it's a long answer to your question, but you can see things coming that they necessarily don't see yet because they haven't experienced it yet. Some of these young people, they've lost their grandmother. It might be the first person they've ever lost in their family. I mean, probably you or I probably lost a ton of people in our life, and we can tell them how we got through that. And I think the more open you are about your life, the better. I think sometimes that our guys are told that, men don't talk. You keep everything inside. That's not how we talk about toughness and being a man. It isn't. It's being accountable for yourself, no matter how you feel. And finding a way to be able to control those emotions by letting others help you do that. Being committed to yourself, mind, body, spirit. Challenging yourself to be a better person and making everybody else around you better. And having this confidence that you're going to have to be able to earn and you're going to have to be able to work on and develop over time. And I think that kind of sums up what Mohammed said, that there was a lot of people and he had a lot of resources at the University of Minnesota that put their arms around him immediately. I can't tell you how many people just right after the game when he got hurt were inside that locker room at the stadium or inside that training room. And they didn't care about him not being the running back anymore that year. They cared about him as a person. And he's heavy in his faith as well. I know we talked about that. So it's not just one person that's going to help you through that. It's going to take a massive team. And that's what's unique about college football is you have a team of people to make you a better player, but make you a better person, more importantly, mentally, physically, emotionally. And this is really maybe one of the only times they have it from everywhere they look, right? And, we got to do everything we can to train them for life as they keep going forward.
More conversation about what surrounds this game than the game itself. Minnesota should win easily, but this is the annual mental health wellness game in partnership with Rachel Baribeau and others, bringing awareness to the importance of taking care of your whole health. As PJ Fleck said, it's okay to admit you're not okay.
Thompson looking to the right, quick throw through the hands of the receiver and intercepted by the Wildcats, Xavier Mueller comes up with a pick on the deflection, and the Wildcats are going to lead Dublin, Ireland 1-0.
Man, that one had to feel good, as did the bye week for Northwestern following that win over Nebraska in Dublin. Now back at it for the first time this season at home, coming up this Saturday against Duke, one of those comparable schools, as Pat Fitzgerald likes to call him. You can see that game on FS1. Speaking of Fitz, here is the Northwestern headman.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be back in game week. I'll get started with our players of the week internally from, the game against Nebraska. Our offensive players of the week was the offensive line collectively as a whole, and Ryan Nowinski. All six of those guys played outstanding football. Defensively, we had two guys play really well up front, Adetomo Adebawore and Sean McLaughlin. Special teams wise, Luke Akers and Andrew Clare. And then our big playmakers were Evan Hall and Donnie Navarro offensively. Grayson Metz on defense with that big fumble caused, kind of shifted some momentum in that game. And then our practice players of the week, Evan Smith, Jack Lausch, and Robert Fitzgerald. Those three guys collectively really proud of the effort that they're given. Excited to get to the home opener here in Ryan Field and get, kind of back into a game week groove, to play 0 week and then have a week off. This feels much more like an opener than maybe a week 2 game for us. And that's the way we'll operate this week. But it'll be great to get back into Ryan Field. Really impressed watching the Blue Devils, not only a little bit on Friday, but more when I watched them, Saturday, and then we jumped into our game prep based on the opener. But great respect for Mike Elko, a guy that I know well, and just an outstanding football coach, a terrific family man, and is going to do a great job at Duke. He's the guy that we've clinicked with, a guy that I've known for a number of years, and I think he's put together an outstanding staff. With Kevin Johns, who obviously worked here with us and did a terrific job and did an outstanding job in the opener with his offense. Rob Smith, the DC, he's got many miles in the Big Ten and gone against him. And, he does a great job with their defense. And then Pat Doherty, who runs their special teams, was here on our staff along, obviously, with Adam Cushing. So they'll have a lot more familiarity with us than maybe we will with them getting their second game. But really impressed with the way they played in all three phases. Played a very clean game for an opener with a new staff, and was really impressed by the way that they played. So we'll need to improve in a lot of areas. Thought we found a way to win in 0 week, but didn't really play the way that we want to play collectively. So just a lot of work went into the end of last week in the bye, and same thing will go into this week. And also want to put a special shout out to our 14 guys that are getting their opportunities here in the NFL here this week. I want to wish those guys the best of luck, and really proud of them as they get going here this year in the NFL. So with that, I'll answer any and all questions you may have. Thanks.
First question, Ryan Che.
Good afternoon, Fitz. Thanks for the time this Labor Day. Ryan Che, WNR Sports. You just kind of mentioned it earlier, but I was kind of curious. What is it like? Duke has these new faces on their coaching staff, but as you mentioned, they're not new faces to Evanston with Adam and Kevin Johns. Can you talk about the prep that goes into this week in terms of knowing and having that sense of familiarity with those two coaches in particular?
Yeah. I think it goes back to what I said, last week, getting ready for Nebraska with a new offensive coordinator and new staff. You just got to, that's your whole off season, right? You spend a lot of time. We did the same thing getting ready for Duke with, not only their offense, but their defense, the kick game, then personnel and new additions that they have and where they're moving guys around, that we were able to get a snapshot on the opener. But, with the way that the game went, we got maybe about 5% of what they're going to really run. So, you got to do a lot of studying, from what they've done in the past. So a lot of challenge on the staff, but, it's nothing new for us. It's something that we're kind of used to around here, especially when you're, we got a veteran staff that's been here for a long time. Yeah. A lot of teams have a lot more familiarity with us than we do than them in the non-conference slate.
John Riker.
Hey, Coach. John Riker, Daily Northwestern. The offense featured two new contributors in the passing game against Nebraska and playmaker Donnie Navarro and Thomas Gordon at tight end. How have you seen them come along during preseason camp, and what impressed you most about their performances in Ireland?
I think both guys played, physical at times, either, blocking and or the catches that they had to make contested, especially Donnie. That early catch was an outstanding job by him. And it was really close to making a spectacular catch on the boundary. It was just maybe about a half a shoelace out. I thought looked like he was in, went out from my vantage point, but I was a little biased on that play. But, and then TG is a guy that's been in our program. You want to talk about someone that's been, through a lot, just through injuries. And then, a guy that had an opportunity present itself. And I thought he played outstanding. He just played probably one of his best games. And we're going to need everybody, but to see those two guys step up, I'm really proud of them.
Thank you.
Lawrence Price.
Hey, Coach. Lawrence Price, Daily Northwestern. We know that both teams, lost a lot from last year, but also gained a lot, like Duke, Mateo Durant, and also Gunnar Holmgren. And then, of course, Northwestern with, just Stephon Robinson on the offensive end, for instance. Can you talk about, with the losses and additions for both teams? And like you said, this is kind of like a week 0 or first opening game of the season. What's going to allow which the winning team, what's going to make them or set themselves apart?
Yeah, so two parts of your question, buddy. First one, that's college football now. Get used to it, right? That's not going backwards. So, you're going to have departures and new arrivals. Your roster is now year to year. Not, you have you're not going to be able to project anywhere that you got a guy for 4 years. It's just not the way college football is. So, that's just what's to be expected, and you got to adjust accordingly with your roster, and then you got to adjust to the talent that you see new on every roster that you play and kind of how they're plugging and playing guys in and, how guys end up being a part of it. I think anytime, again, approaching this week like the opener, you got to execute. You got to make sure that you take care of the football and win the turnover battle. And Duke did an outstanding job of that on Friday night, the way that they took care of the ball. I was really impressed with Riley Leonard. I mean, the way that, he had command of that offense. It's not a surprise the way I know Kevin Johns. No, not a surprise with the way that he played and, how well prepared he was. I thought just all across the board, they had multiple running backs, multiple tight ends, multiple wideouts, made plays. Their line was physical. It was really impressive watching their offense. So, when you say all that, you just got to focus on yourself, and we've just got to be 1 week better. And, it's all 3 phases for us.
Fitz expecting a battle against Duke and also asking the home crowd to come out. A little bit of a sales pitch here. The more the merrier. Come out for a beautiful day at Ryan Field. Come out at 11. Have some fun. Who knows? Maybe the point of sales will go out and there will be free beer. I believe that is only an Irish thing, Fitz, unfortunately, for everybody in Evanston. Well, fortunately for Rutgers, what a comeback for the Scarlet Knights in Week 1 against Boston College, one of the few Big Ten teams that was an underdog on the Week 1 schedule. Rutgers picks up a key win in its quest to return to the postseason, get to that magical number of at least 6 overall wins this year. Huge day for Greg Schiano and the Scarlet Knights. Let's head to the banks now and listen in to the Rutgers head man.
Cardinals, huh? I like it. Thanks for coming out, guys. Try to answer anything I can. Big week here. We're starting academics tomorrow. School starts tomorrow, so there's a lot going on in our building right now. Everyone getting ready. I think that's something that's lost often on people. They watch the games on TV and they see these big, fast guys running around, making great plays. Being a student athlete at Rutgers is a huge challenge. Academically, it's such a competitive school. So not only do we compete in the Big Ten Conference, but academically, these guys are competing every day in the classroom and every evening in the classroom. So we had a great summer. Everybody is eligible for the season. And I thought we really did well in the classroom this summer. So now we got to pick it up again here starting tomorrow. Big week. First game, we had some first game jitters. We had some guys that were playing for the first time. We played multiple quarterbacks. There's a lot of stuff that we have to sort through and get better. Really get better. We had 10 penalties. That's not who we are, but we did it, so it is. We got to clean that stuff up. So there's so much to work on. Wagner's coming in. They had a tough game with Fordham, so I'm sure they're going to be hungry and come in here looking to impress. And, to me, it's about us. We got to get better. And just like last week was about us, this week's about us. So, questions?
Greg, I wanted to ask you about Noah. How has he handled the injury, and what kind of role has he played with the younger guys while he's been out?
He's been great with the younger guys. He's coached them. Noah wants to go into coaching when he's done playing. So he's done an awesome job. He's helped me. He's helped Sean quite a bit. He's handling it well, but he's like a caged animal. He wants to play, and this is very frustrating to him. So, but we'll just week to week and see how it heals.
How much do you feel like you're still kind of learning about this team and individual players just because they are so young and what they can do, and how does that kind of impact what each week of practice is like for you?
Quite a bit, Chris. It's a good point in that it's not only the young guys that haven't played. Like a guy like Wesley Bailey who hasn't played football for us. All of a sudden he goes out and he really has a good game, right? A very productive game. Well, okay, that's good. Then there's some other guys. A guy like Desmond Igmanuson got a little time in the bowl game, and now he goes out and plays, I don't know what he played, 70, 80 plays and did a good job. Like those things you have to now assess and say, okay, so now what? What's the next step for them? How do we redistribute some of the repetitions? Offensive line. There's a lot of different areas that we have to address, and I mentioned it in the open with improvement. So As I said to our coaches, we had a great workout last night. We just have so much to do. It's almost, overwhelming, but we just got to keep chopping. That's what chopping is, just chop the moment, whatever we're working on right now. And, we'll run out of time, there's no doubt, but how much can we get done before the kickoff at 4 o'clock? That's our goal.
Before getting into the question, just to be sure, the 2-quarterback system is still a possibility for Saturday, correct?
Anything's, so we don't have to answer this too many more times going forward. This will be a blanket statement for the whole year. Whatever gives us the best chance to win is a possibility. So then basically anything's a possibility if it gives us a chance to win.
Sure. So to that effect, with the 2-quarterback system, can you take us through a bit about the decision-making process on who makes the decisions, how the decision of who comes in when, who comes out when, how that comes about? Just how do you guys go about making those decisions?
Well, ultimately, personnel is my decision, right? I listen to all my coaches. I watch the video with them. I watch it separately. I get a lot of reports come to me. But at the end of the day, that's my job as the head coach. During the game, I give my coaches latitude based on what they want to call, who they want doing it. And I thought Sean and the offensive staff did a good job, really good job of managing that. But some of that is, subjective, right? I mean, how do you know? You don't know. They're human beings. You don't know how people are going to react. Neither one of those quarterbacks have played a substantial amount of football, so you're getting to see it just as we are. We see it in practice, but the games are different. I mean, we all know that, and so we're learning about them, and just as everybody is. And then, when are you going to name a starter? Again, when it gives us the best chance to win.
Coach, obviously, you're on the precipice of a milestone. You would tie Frank Burns this week if you win for the most wins ever at Rutgers. What's something that you learned from Frank Burns as a coach, and how is he able to build this how is he able to first identify Rutgers and build that into a program? What did you learn from him?
Well, Coach Burns, I got the opportunity in my first go-round to meet him. Unfortunately, his health had failed later on, but I really enjoyed it. He was such I don't know what the word is, stately. Like, he had that white, when I got to know him, he had that white hair, and he was just such a gentleman that I was so impressed being around him. And, we would talk football. He was a tough guy. I mean, he was legitimate, old school, do it right, work hard, and good things happen. And, we didn't really ever talk X's and O's as much as we talk philosophy, head coaching things. So I always enjoyed my time with Coach. I've been blessed. I've had some great people that I've had a chance to be around.
What are you seeing now from Christian Broswell, and also just the way he handled coming back from the injury, the adversity, and obviously made a big play the other day. So what are you kind of seeing from him?
Yeah, I was glad. I mean, I'm certainly happy that for our team, but I was really glad for him individually, because he's been up against it, right? I mean, he decides to transfer here, and then in the summer hurts his knee, misses the entire season, then has some health issues this spring. I know the way he felt. He felt like snake bit, like when's it going to end? And to make a big play like that was so good for him and so good for us. So I'm hoping this is kind of as I said to him, this is a launching pad for you right now.
Taj Harris, 11 snaps, 1 catch. Why was his role so limited?
Oh, I think, it's just competition. We have a lot of guys that are playing, you saw we played a lot of guys at a lot of positions, and that was on purpose. And, I'm hopeful that his reps will grow as we get more and more comfortable. He's a newcomer who has really worked hard to get himself in a position to compete. So I'm hopeful that grows.
There's no injury or suspension or any issue of that nature?
No, there was nothing other than just playing a lot of people.
Greg, we talked a lot about the
double
linebackers.
mics. I didn't realize we had double mics. That's tricky. That's good.
You talked a lot about the linebackers coming into the season. How would you assess Tyree and Deion's performance in Week 1?
Yeah, I thought they played well. I thought they both played well. Again, Dion played a lot more his first year with us than his second, and then Tyreen played last year. He got a start actually at Indiana, and but I thought, you never really know. And now they were the guys, right? And I thought they performed well. It's a good, again, a launching pad for them. Again, all of this is a starting point. And, because we win by 1 point, it all feels so different. But had we not, if Kyle Monungai doesn't get that fumble, we don't win the game, right? So now everything feels differently. So that's what I tried to talk to the team about is, the 150 text messages that were on your phone after the game would have been 0. And 1 point is what changes all that. And that's what they have to understand. That's the fine line in major college football. So what does that mean? Is it you sit there and worry about that? No, it's all about the preparation, what you're willing to put forth, the effort you're willing to put forth, the attention to detail all week long. We had some guys cramp. I don't have a lot of sympathy for crampers. That's about preparation. You have to prepare, you have to drink, throughout the game. It's easy to get distracted and not do that. I think all of these things are what we learned. Those penalties, a lot of them were unforced errors. That's not who we are, but we did it, so it is. Until we change it, that is who we are. Those are the things that we have to work on this week, and there's got to be laser focus on that. So that's my job, and that's our staff's job, to make sure that we aid and help these guys, take them where they want to go. There's no lack of want to. There's no lack of hard work. But we have to learn to be where our feet are and really focus on that moment. We call it chop the moment. We have to do that. When we did that, we were good Saturday. When we didn't, we made silly mistakes, and we didn't perform even close to our capabilities.
Congratulations to Nebraska running back Anthony Grant breaking ankles and named the Big Ten's co-offensive player of the week. Rushed for nearly 200 yards in the win over North Dakota. Grant 290 and 4 touchdowns in his first 2 games in a Husker uniform. And Nebraska offensively relied on Grant heavily in the second half, and they needed him. North Dakota came to play, give the Huskers a scare, but time and time again, Nebraska handed the ball off to Grant. Got a huge win for Scott Frost and company, who ended a record streak of 7 consecutive losses by just 1 score. Hasn't quieted all the criticism, but a lot easier, as Frost said, to learn from a win than after a loss. Let's head to Lincoln and hear more from the head Husker after you look at their schedule, which does include that win over North Dakota. Of course, the year started with the loss to Northwestern in Dublin, Ireland. Now it is a Week 2 game against Georgia Southern coming up this Saturday, and you can see it on FS1.
Excited to get back on. We had a good Monday as far as the install goes and getting the first step of preparation ready for the game. Looking back on the game, I thought there was a lot of good things we could take from it. Usually when you watch tape, nothing's as good as you think or as bad as you think. We did some good things in the first half. Did some bad things the second half. Obviously, second half really started to click for us. It's been a process to get everybody working together and on the same page, and new pieces and knowing the little details and things that it takes to make plays work and make plays on defense. That's what we're going to continue to work on. And I think the kids are in a good spot, understanding and feeling confident in where they can go, but knowing we still have a lot of things we can fix.
How would you evaluate the offensive line, that group that's working together for the first time?
Yeah, I don't really want to single out the O-line because to me it's the run game in general. And I will say this, the running backs played well. Everybody that got in played well. Running backs make O-lines look better, and O-lines make running backs look better. And sometimes receivers and quarterbacks are part of that too. The first half we gave up 2 sacks, and that was all we gave up. But that 2 is too many. I thought one of the promising things to see was to see us control the ball when we needed to at the end of the game and just be able to run it. But that's a team effort, not one person or one unit.
Are they firing off the ball up front like you want?
Yeah, it's a lot better. We can get better at every position. So I know they work on that all the time, and hopefully that continues to improve, but I like what I see.
What's your concern level about the run defense, and how can that maybe improve? What are the areas that can get better right away?
Consistency, Sam. When you watch the game, even me being on the headset with those guys, we'll knock a run out for one and then one for -2. We've had too many that have creased, and that's just detail. We're going to do a little more ones versus ones this week. Some ways I feel as a head coach watching, like the defense needs to see those plays being run at the speed that the one offense can give them. And even though we don't get perfect looks on either side, trying to give each other a look, I think it's important to continue to do those things. So we'll do a little more of that. We weren't able to do much of that last week, coming off a trip overseas.
You played safety in the NFL. You know that. You know the secondary position well. Your two safeties have played 155 and 153 snaps of 155. How have you seen them play? And I mean, this is kind of new for both of them. How have they done, particularly Buford?
I think they've both been solid. I think one of the keys is making sure that whoever else is the third and fourth guys are ready to go in, feel confident. We feel confident in them. We got a lot of guys capable, and they're working their way toward that. I don't want to put that many plays on those guys every week, but Miles has been really solid. Marquise has made some really good plays for us, so I feel good about those two guys. We need to make sure that the third and fourth guys can spell them a little bit.
Coach, did you feel like you improved tackling-wise from week 1 to week 2? And kind of how do you work on tackling in practice?
We work on tackling all the time. The one thing you can't get is too many live reps in practice, and I think we probably get as many or more than most. But at the end of the day, there's really no substitute for actually live bullets and getting those reps. And we got a lot of guys that have made a lot of tackles in their career here that I'm less worried about, and some guys that are newer that haven't made as many tackles. But when you watch college football, and I'm working too hard to watch a lot of it, but you see a lot of early season stuff going on that teams have to fix, and we're no different than anybody else. There's things that we need to continue to improve on.
How do you think Ernest Hausman did, and how do you want to handle that inside linebacker position as you guys get through Nick's injury?
First major play for Ernest, thought he held up well. He has a chance to be a special player around here. He's going to provide depth along with Va for us, and Snodgrass when he gets back for the two starters. We moved Chris inside for the game to make sure we were good there. Feel good about that position, having Giff and Buddha and Chris. So it's great to have a guy like Chris that can move inside or out.
Scott, how about A.J. Allen, your freshman on the offensive side who's doing that? What does he do, and how does he complement Anthony?
Well, I've said this a bunch. We got a lot of running backs I trust to go in that can make plays, and I hope they all get their shot. AG's done a great job with his plays, and AJ's done a great job with his plays, and I have no doubt that there's some other guys that will too. So that's going to continue to be a competition.
Scott, you said you looked at the film and you know some things in the first half. You said you did some good things that maybe you didn't jump out at you during the game. What were some of those good things in the first half that maybe was overlooked in the heat of the moment?
Yeah, one of the positives, and I don't want to jinx it, but our first drive out of both first halves have been touchdowns. Our first drive and second halves have been touchdowns. So when we have a plan and go in, and we've been executing it pretty well. I think familiarity with scheme and adjustments and everything as kids get more familiar in the scheme, hopefully some of those drives can take place after first drives with a little more frequency. I didn't realize after the game we'd only had 4 possessions on offense in the first half. They did a good job of picking up a couple first downs and keeping the ball away from us. The punt block by Javen Wright was certainly a big play for us, and it was good to see us make an impact play on special teams. Other than the one drive, I thought the defense held up real well in the first half. So, but you got to play complete games. The offense has to play well, defense has to play well, and special teams has to play well. And we'll definitely need to play more complete games to get wins down the road.
Scott, did you like what you got out of your tight ends, especially with Travis sideline?
Yeah, they gave Bork a lot of crap for being nervous and dropping the first ball, but he settled in and played really well. Chancellor Brewington's a special kid. He is tough. can do about anything we ask him. He played really well too. AJ got quite a few snaps, and that was good to get him his first experience. We're looking forward to having Travis back real soon.
You mentioned all the skill guys you have. How tough is that to balance playing time? Like Gabe Irvin kind of pops in there late in the third quarter. You want to get a guy touches, but you're in the middle of a fake game. What's that balance like as a coach?
It's tough because there's a lot of guys that deserve to play, and guys just have to be ready when they get their opportunity. And the one thing we can't do is ever have it be about an individual. The team's bigger than any of us, and we're gonna put the guys on the field we think give us the best chance. There's a few positions where we have a lot of guys that are capable, and sharing those reps is going to be a challenge.
What kind of person do you have to be to do what Chance is willing to do every game? I mean, because pretty thankless. I know he got a touchdown, but a lot of what he does is blocking guys that are bigger than him, doing sort of gritty tasks.
Yeah, I can make a highlight tape already of him making some impactful and impressive blocks. He's a selfless kid. He does anything we ask him. He's one of the toughest guys on the team, and I have a ton of respect and admiration for him.
Scott, I think I saw Brandon Moore pop out there late in the game. I mean, his story, just a guy who was out of football a few years and getting back out there. You've known him a while. What was that like to see that?
Yeah. Bam's one of the players I've coached that I'm the closest with, and he's like a son to me. So I said it when he came, if he ends up helping us a bunch this year, then that's great. If we end up helping him, then it's worth it for me.
Without going too far into the Anthony Grant discussion, on film, did anything jump out at you after you watched it?
I thought the vision of the running backs in general, everybody that got a chance, was really good. They saw some cracks and hit some seams to get extra yards that were hard to see. Thought Anthony's patience was really good on a couple of the runs, not just running blindly up in there, but waiting for blocks to develop. And with a lot of these guys, if we can get them on the second level, we have a chance to make big plays now. And it's kind of up to the O-line and the coaching staff to get us in the right place and the right schemes to make sure that some of these backs can get in space.
Scott, you mentioned multiple times Ramir Johnson is in between the positions of wide receiver and running back. What does that mean exactly? Is he on the playbook yet, behind guys at either position? What's going on there?
Ramir had an unbelievable week of practice last week at receiver. There's still some detail as you're spending a lot more time at that position. There's some detail to it that it just takes a while to learn. He's one of the guys I feel the worst for right now, but I have no doubt he's going to be a big part of what we're doing through the course of this season. He's too good a player not to, so we kind of had a plan to get him in more than we got him in Saturday, but we'll keep looking for spots to use him because he's got a lot of talent.
Is he going to be more part of the game plan this week?
I don't know. We'll see.
Is he kind of a fan of that, being a receiver more than running back?
I think he just one of the things I really respect about him, he's going to do whatever it takes to help the team, and obviously he did a lot of that last year as a running back. I think he's capable as a receiver. He's looked really good out there, so he's capable of helping us a lot of places. We have more depth at both those spots than we've had in the past, so it's going to take him a little while to get really comfortable outside. We know we can move him back in the backfield anytime we need.
Their quarterback, or just a quarterback, you saw him last year with. How beneficial is that? Not having some tape on him.
Yeah, it helps. He's familiar with this place and he's been in this environment before too, so it probably helps him. Little different scheme in offense and different uniform. He's a good player. Buffalo gave us everything we wanted to handle last year, and he was a part of that. So we got a challenge coming in here.
How well do you know Clay Helton just from your Pac-12 days?
A little bit. Got a ton of respect for him for everything he accomplished there as a coordinator and head coach, and I'm sure coming into a new place that had run a different scheme on offense, there was a lot of challenges there. Judging on the way they played first week, they've done a really good job.
I know you said there was a few dumb things on special teams Saturday, but how do you feel overall about sort of where that operation is at?
I feel good. I think we got, our punter has been really good. Our punt protection has been good. Kickoff coverage was good. There was one that almost got out. Cooper Jewett made a great play and was in the right place. There's a lot of effort and detail going on. There's a lot of situations that can come up in special teams. And if you watch games around the country again this week, there's special teams plays that won and lost games for people. A couple of the things that happened the other day were sloppy mistakes that I know have been covered several times, and kind of a couple rare things, but we need to be smart enough to make the right play when those things happen. And we'll just keep covering them.
Yeah, Mark Helfrich is is the analyst here this week. Are you going to get a chance to catch up with him at all?
I didn't know that. Helfie's one of my favorite guys. As smart and funny a guy as you'll ever be around, and a great coach. So I didn't know that, but I can't wait to see him.
Scott, does it help having, I guess, what you would call a normal game week of preparation as opposed to what you guys have dealt with the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, that travel took a lot out of us last week, and I think we'll fall more into a normal routine now, and that certainly can't hurt.
Now that you've watched him call plays for 2 games, what have you learned about Mark Whipple that maybe you didn't know before?
He's a competitor. He's intense, but I guess I already knew that. We did a great job. I thought he did a great job in the second half. The whole staff did, and the more collaboration and communication there is, the better. That's tough when you're kind of speaking different languages, and everybody needs to keep coming together better. And I thought the second half was an example of that. And that's players and coaches. The more familiar we get with one another and what we're doing, the better we're going to be.
Some of those run plays, stuff that you've run before where you had chance and then Manning kind of pulling like that, is that new, or is that stuff you've done before too?
That's stuff a lot of people do, Sam. The Rams make a living on it. And, there's fads in football. And thought we were in some good stuff Saturday.
Important win for Nebraska, can certainly say the same for Indiana. The come-from-behind win over Illinois 23-20 as the Hoosiers start their season with not just a win, but a conference win, something they didn't taste all of 2021. Had to feel great for Tom Allen and company. Here is the head Hoosier.
Just want to begin by saying just really proud of our football team, and I felt like that the guys were ready to play, and they played hard. A lot of things to correct and get fixed, but I thought the effort was tremendous. I thought the just staying together, staying positive on the sideline, and being able to be at our best at the end was critical on both sides of the ball and special teams. And so I thought that showed up, and I think our leadership showed up, and just the things that makes your program who they are, and to be able to stay together, stay focused and locked in, and be able to just make those critical plays at critical times was really important. So a very important win for us, for our program. So just really proud of our coaching staff. You think about you have 15 coaches that they consider accountable coaches. Those are the ones that coach on the field that can instruct players. You have 10 full-time assistants. You have the head coach, and then you have 4 of those GAs that we have, all right? And so you think about all those guys. We have 9 new individuals in those positions. 4 GAs, all of our GAs from last year's staff all got full-time jobs, which is awesome. That's what you want them to do. And we have the 5 new on-the-field coaches. And so that's a lot of guys to be able to get on the same page and without any preseason games. And preseason scrimmages are good, but they don't simulate a full game because the sideline isn't the same. So someone's always on the field that you're coaching for your team, whether it's your 1s and 2s or whatever. That's obvious reasons when you're playing against each other. So we do a mock game to try and simulate that, which is still not the same because all of our GAs are running that, the scout teams, and so those guys are the ones we're talking to in the box. And so just all the communication that it takes to be able to function on game day, collect data, me calling defense, having Chad in that new role. We had a whole new series of things, a whole bunch of new guys working in that together. The guys in the press box were all new that we're talking to. The time clock, the time management, the clock management, all those things are all part of this. 35 new players that weren't here before. So it's just a lot of new faces. And so you can come into a game that we knew was a very important game against a good football team. And there was no ramp it up opportunity. So all that being said, just really proud of our guys, the calmness that they had, the ability to communicate and execute those critical times was very, very important.
And, of course, there are two sides to every football story. Illinois unable to back up its Week 0 win over Wyoming with that loss to Indiana. Tough beat for Bret, Bielema and company. Really could have gone either way. One or two calls here or there, a couple controversial calls and overturns. All that adding up to a loss and a 1-1 record through 2 games for the Illini. Here is the Illinois headman as we take you to Champaign to listen in.
What's up? Obviously, I was very clear with my coaches on Saturday. We got back really, really late, early Saturday morning, late Friday night, however you want to look at it, that I'm extremely disappointed for our roster, for our staff. I'm not disappointed in our roster or our staff, and there's a big difference, right? And I think it's easy in moments like that to get caught up in the negativity, and there's a lot of things that we can correct. One of the things that I really issued a challenge to our players, right, that when we kind of made our team goals for the fall, and when they kind of talked about what they want to do and what they want to become, one of the things that they were glowingly talking about during that process is, Coach, you've taught us to do certain things. That's just kind of who we are and what we do. We don't necessarily need that to be a goal, right? And since day one, I've talked about before we can start winning games, we got to stop losing them. And I pointed out to our guys, to our staff, that penalties, we were an 8-3 disadvantage. Mental errors, obviously, I don't know how many they committed, but I know how many we did. And in the biggest one for me, turnover margin, we were -2. So those things are part of the process that I want them to understand, and for our coach to understand how we call a game, how we recruit, how we build, how we practice is based on winning those 3 areas or doing our best to do it. And if we strike out in all 3, it's going to be very hard for us to have success. So I think as a staple for us as we move forward, you can always kind of look at those margins and have a great indicator of where the game's going to go. I didn't lose sight of it was the second game of our second season. Obviously, I wanted to win it as bad as anybody. I think our guys have really challenged themselves, something I've been talking about since last spring to where we are today, to not only practice, but practice with the expectation to win. And I don't think there's anybody that can say that our guys didn't go over there with the expectation to win, the way they battled through and persevered through a tough couple moments that worked against us, right? Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But, we had a situation last week where Julian Pearl basically got hurt in the middle of a practice on a Thursday, which is our lightest practice day. We immediately popped Isaiah Adams out to left tackle, took Jordan Slaughter, who had really been repping at right guard with Zai, moved those guys over to left tackle, new position, left guard, new position, and the way those guys performed for 90-plus snaps was pretty incredible. Obviously wasn't clean, but to think about their entire week of preparation, went into different positions, and to play that way I thought was really good. Can't lose sight of 2 guys, kind of 2 different ends of the spectrum, but Chase Brown just continues to impress me with who he is, what he represents, the way he competes. Obviously got hit with a tough play, tough hit, and came back even tougher than ever. Brian Hightower just continues to show me on a daily basis how much improvement he's made since we've walked in, and the attitude he carries. I got an incredible message from him. One of the things that happened the week before, I think I mentioned it, Pat Bryant, I think, made a catch in the Wyoming game at the end of the half where I didn't see him tell me he caught the ball. So we made a huge point in our program. Listen, I want you to have faith in me, and I got to have faith in you. So if you tell me you catch something, I want to know because I want to be able to review it. And when High jumped up, you see him not celebrate, not do anything, but look at me, look to our sideline and tell me he's catching it. That's a huge moment, right? It gets probably unnoticed by a million other people, all right? But for me, that was everything. He shot me a text. He said, Coach, I wasn't lying to you. I caught that ball. And I shot him a text back. I said, my friend, I don't need you to tell me that because I knew it by the way you got up and the way you responded. And that's the way we're going to operate in that moment. Also, a couple other guys that I think persevered, right? Isaiah Williams, I know he took responsibility after the game for some of the things that he knows he's got to do better. But for him to play the way he did, for 4 quarters. He was kind of battling some elements going into it, and I give Luke Ford a lot of credit. Luke, obviously got caught with a tough hit. It was a bam play. Tommy really tried to help him by throwing it on the back shoulder, but obviously a great defensive play by their guy. And then obviously the hit on Chase, everybody's going to look at it as something that Luke could, with emotion, that defender started emotion away. Luke can't move because he's stationary by rule. He can't change. And that guy created an angle that he made an incredible play and break, which caused a turnover. But you take all the other plays Luke was involved in. He blocked backside and then some C area plays. It was really pretty good. Defensively, I can't say enough the way the game started with Spoon. Just a really explosive player that sees, reads, reacts. The things he saw before that snap even happened and the way he pulled the trigger, that was a bam play, really. That play is very comparable to the Chase Bound play. Just both of those rulings went against us, right? Like, they went in favor of Indiana. I'm sure it was a correct call, but it's just one of those things that it's just unfortunate the way it, because that could have been a scoop and score for us and literally changed the game from the first play, but it didn't happen. And then another guy, Johnny Newton, is just I've kind of said it all along. Johnny, I believe I saw the PFF thing. Somebody put it on my desk that he led all Division I football in pressures and hits on a quarterback, almost double the number of any other D lineman in the nation. And to do that as an interior player is really truly incredible. And the great news is Johnny is probably going to push himself to even be better this week just because how he's wired, and just a really special player right now. And then I give a lot of credit to Caleb Griffin, who obviously in the Wyoming game, things didn't go his way for him to operate and function the way he did as a kicker, not only in the field goal, which everybody looks at, but for us on kickoff coverage, we really had to cover one kick, right? And just really give him a lot of credit for what he did there, and a lot of other good examples as well. So just like everybody else, we got to turn the page, to hop into Virginia. Tremendous respect for this program. It's a little bit unique, right? We got done with the game last year, saw them take the victory kneel, and knew that we were going to have to play them this year, not really expecting them. They became a bowl-eligible team, but obviously transition with Coach Mendenhall for whatever happened there, right? So now you're dealing with a new head coach, with Coach Elliott, who has had a tremendous respect in our business. Offensive coordinator Des Kitchens is a guy that I've had on my eye on. He's an incredible football coach that has been very well thought of in our profession. He's getting his first opportunity to coordinate. And then their defensive coordinator, Coach Rudd, is a guy that had been at Air Force. Coach Calhoun and I are very close. I've got 3 coaches on my staff who worked at Air Force, so they're very aware of how good a coach he is and where he's at. So they have 3 new coordinators, including their special teams coordinator and offense, defense, and head coach. Kind of the tale of two cities offensively. Their quarterback, obviously Armstrong is a very talented left-handed quarterback, so it's tough to simulate a left-handed thrower. Was a very impressive guy. Up front, they have a lot of guys making their first starts. They really got a lot of transition in the offensive line, but in the back end, or in a wide receiver running back position, you have guys that have played 30-plus games, 32, 34, 36, 25, 28. It's just a lot of experience at the running back, wide receiver positions, and tight end. Defensively, they're completely different kind of where they were a year ago. Coach Mendenhall and his background, what they ran, there is some carryover, but you can see the things they're doing are different from what they did a year ago. So we know that we're going to get great improvement from their units from game one to game 2. A tremendous challenge to come in here, but excited for our guys. I think they're going to have a good week of preparation. A challenge to come back as late as we did, to play as many snaps as we did. Hydration, fatigue, all that stuff factors into it, but we'll get them back this week, and I'd be very surprised if those that want to come to the game on Saturday, I think, are going to see a very motivated football team to be successful and hopefully have good results for Saturday. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Bret, what have you learned in your years about how to coach a team through a tough, close loss like you just had, and how to flush that? So
yeah, I think 2 things. So first, it always helps when you know your team. So a year ago, maybe coming out of the UTSA game, right, I didn't quite know how to kind of handle our guys, the buttons to push. We got back literally at 3:30 Saturday morning. I crashed on my couch because I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. So I got to watching that film, and I would say before noon, I'd already heard from a lot of our majority leaders about what they wanted to do, how they wanted to go about it. It's kind of nice when you, as a head coach, know that before you have to say or do anything, your team leader has already taken that perspective. So I think that's one factor. And the second thing is you have to really understand that these guys, hear the same things, do the same things that you guys do. After a loss, you naturally take an element of negativity, right? And It's very common in today's world to sound off on that. One of the things you have to do is realize there's a lot of really good things that happen. I'm excited as a head coach because, my perspective and my desires have always been to build this thing the right way and let us have a sustained success. And I can tell right now, just the early reactions, right? Like the expectation was to win that game, just like I want it to be. And that's changed culturally around our program, which is great. That's a step in the right direction. So all those things are positives if you view them the right way.
Are 2 games enough where you can look at the film and determine if you need to tweak anything personnel-wise?
I think we meet every Sunday on personnel. So, if there's other personnel options out there, I'd love to hear them. But I love the personnel we got. Like, I think one of the things Barry Lunny and Ryan and Sean literally do is I really challenge those guys. We met this morning as coordinators as well as yesterday and, really said, hey, let's get our best personnel in every snap to win, right? And Dark Angelo is playing great rest for us at linebacker. He starts on 4 core phases. Kendall Smith is playing good football for us. He starts on 3. We've narrowed him down to 2. We got guys that I call 4 core guys, Fadonzo, Ryan Mead, and really a couple of other guys that play through. Dylan Rosiak, another guy that plays every 4 core phase to the highest level, and hopefully that's going to give us a chance. So I think we maximize our personnel. Once you get into a season, you got a roster of 74 guys you travel with, but it's really about 60 players that kind of determine your success. 30 on both sides of the ball with a handful of special teams guys. So I love our roster. It's where it's at. But we're always going to try to maximize our personnel. It's a fair question.
I'm sure there's plays every week you have discussions with the Big Ten referees about. But when a big play like that happens, what is the feedback or how do you go about that?
So ironically, after the Wyoming game, I sent in 8 clips. After this game, I sent in 8 clips. I got the results back both last week and this week. Part of our agreement with the Big Ten is we all just want to try to get better, right? So I don't really make public what they say or what we do. I would say that there isn't anything that we did during the course of the game that causes me to rethink what we do going forward. I thought our guys handled the moment. There are some moments that went against us, some bang plays. Conceptually, design-wise, obviously.
And so Bret Bielema with 3 ex-Air Force assistants on his staff. So the Illini will be familiar with UVA's defense because the Who's DC, John Brzezinski, previously held the same job at Air Force. There are some other crossovers with assistants. So Bielema saying much more familiar with UVA than other Big Ten teams would potentially be.